Sarah, a young writer, bought the old house on Elm Street. Charming from the outside, it held a darkness within. Locals whispered of a tragic past, of a family that met a gruesome end within its walls. But Sarah, seeking inspiration, dismissed them as mere folklore. The house was a time capsule. Dusty furniture, faded portraits on the walls, and an unsettling silence hung in the air. As Sarah started unpacking, a cold draft seemed to follow her, whispering her name. A shiver ran down her spine, but she shook it off, attributing it to the old house's natural chill. Night came, and the house came alive. Creaking floorboards, the sound of distant footsteps, and the feeling of being watched kept Sarah awake. She tried to ignore the unsettling noises, but fear was a patient stalker slowly creeping into her heart. Days turned into weeks, and the strange occurrences intensified. One evening, while working in her study, a portrait on the wall crashed to the floor. The glass shattered, and a wave of icy air swept through the room. Sarah felt a presence, cold and menacing, standing behind her. She started seeing fleeting shadows at the edge of her vision, dark figures that vanished when she turned her head. Whispers followed her from room to room, muttering her name, their tone laced with malice. Sleep offered no escape, as nightmares plagued her every night, filled with visions of a shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. One night, Sarah woke up to a blood-curdling scream. She rushed out of her room and followed the sound to the attic door. The door was slightly ajar, and an unnatural light emanated from within. Her heart pounded in her chest, a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity compelling her to open the door. The attic was shrouded in an eerie green glow. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by an unseen light source. And there, in the center of the room, stood the shadowy figure from her nightmares. Its eyes, two burning embers of red, locked onto Sarah the moment she stepped inside. Terror froze Sarah in her tracks. The figure glided towards her, its form shifting and swirling like smoke. She wanted to scream, to run, but her body refused to obey. She was trapped, both physically and by an overwhelming fear that seemed to paralyze her. As the figure came closer, its form solidified. It was a man, his face obscured by shadows, his clothes tattered and torn. He reached out towards Sarah with a clawed hand, and for the first time that night she found her voice. She screamed, a primal scream filled with terror, and stumbled back. The scream seemed to shatter the tension in the room. The figure flinched, its hand withdrawing as if burned. It dissolved into shadows, vanishing without a trace. The green light faded, plunging the attic back into darkness. Left alone in the sudden silence, Sarah sank to the floor, her body trembling, her mind reeling. Suddenly a soft blue light filled the attic. It emanated from Sarah's hand. She looked down, her breath catching in her throat. In her palm, a locket pulsed with a gentle blue glow. She recognized it, the locket from the old family portrait in the hallway, the one of the family that had died in the house. The locket felt warm in her hand, and as she held it, a voice echoed in her mind, soft and filled with sorrow. It was the voice of a young woman telling a tale of betrayal, of a lover driven by greed who had murdered her and her family within these very walls. The voice was not menacing, but filled with a desperate plea for peace. Sarah realized then with a chill that she was not the prisoner in this house, but the warden